Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
It was mid-July, at the height of summer, which this year was unusually hot, and the sun was shining brightly on the territory of Penal Colony Number 8. If you ignored the high fence and the uniformed men, you could imagine that you were on vacation in a park or in the woods. But Michael couldn't look at this landscape. 5 years he'd spent in this place, caught here as a stupid 19-year-old kid. The years of imprisonment made him tough, built his courage and daring. But they dragged on for Michael for an unbearably long time. This was his last morning behind bars. Today is the end of his sentence. "What's the first thing you'll do when you get out?" asked Michael by his fellow cellmate Ethan. "Buy myself a decent coffee and a fatter hamburger." Michael laughed. "That's not bad, of course. But seriously, I'll go to my mom's. She's been sick a lot. She won't be able to meet me." "Aren't you going to look for the bastards who set you up?" Ethan asked. "Why should I look for them?" said Michael indifferently. "They are serious people. I can't do anything against them. And they've long since gone somewhere else. They had a pretty good run at it." Michael was imprisoned unfairly. As soon as he turned 18, he got a job. Mom was seriously ill. She needed expensive treatment, for the young man did not go to school, but went to earn money. He was hired as an assistant. He performed small errands to bring documents, send them to another office, meet guests, and so on. Then one day he was dramatically promoted. But Michael's happiness did not last long. He did not work in his new position for a month. He was deceived, forced to sign some documents. Thus, the guy became the main suspect in a fraud case. No money for lawyers who could unravel the scam and prove his innocence. Michael didn't have any. So he went to prison, where he spent a long 5 years. The real criminals almost immediately went abroad. There was no evidence against them. "Who's going to meet you?" Ethan asked his comrade. "A friend is coming. I hope I didn't cheat. He hasn't been in touch with me lately for 2 months," Michael replied. He was talking about his old school friend Benjamin. Michael was in the same class with him. They were going to go to a teacher training institute together. Benjamin's dream had come true. He passed on the budget and graduated with honors. He worked at the school as a math teacher. The young man was aware of the whole situation that happened to his friend. Supported Michael believed in his innocence. But the last 2 months were busy at work, so he did not answer calls and letters. But Michael Benjamin was not forgotten. At the appointed time, he was waiting for his comrade at the gates of the penal colony. "Well, goodbye. I hope that next time we will meet in another place." Ethan said goodbye. "I'll see you soon. You've only got 6 months left. I can meet you if you need me," Michael said, even though the boy was being friendly with his cellmate. In his heart, he hoped never to meet him again. Ethan had been convicted of robbery and assault. Michael didn't need that kind of company. He wanted to start his life with a clean slate. The young man had never broken the law. He was decent. Years in prison did not break him, but on the contrary, confirmed him. Confidence in living according to the law and his conscience. The cellmates said goodbye. Michael went to get his things that had been taken from him. 5 years ago, he replaced the boring robe with jeans and a t-shirt and put on a watch. The only expensive thing, he had said goodbye to the wardens who treated the quiet guy well. So their relationship was good. He took one last look at the hated place, spat under his feet, and took a step to freedom. Behind the fence, probably, and the air, the other smiled at Comrade Benjamin. "Everything is different here. Thank you for coming. I thought you had forgotten," Michael replied and hugged his dear friend. "How do I forget? I'm sorry I haven't answered. I'm at the end of the test year. I've been soapy. It's okay. The main thing is that you arrived," Michael replied and sat down in the front seat of the new Lada. The drive to the city took an hour and a half. All this time, Benjamin was telling about his work. Michael had nothing to tell, and he didn't want to remember his imprisonment. His comrade asked him a couple of times how it was there, but he realized from his reluctant answers that it was better not to touch this topic. "What are your plans for life? What will you do?" Benjamin asked. "I don't know where I can go, if only to be a loader or a janitor." Michael answered sadly. "Do you want me to take you to your mom's?" Sure. I have nowhere else to go. Michael got out of the car at his home entrance, said goodbye to Benjamin, and thanked him once again for his help. While the guy went up to the third floor in his head, he had different thoughts. But the most exciting one was how his mom would greet him. Opening the front door, he immediately saw his mom. She was waiting for him on the threshold. Tears were streaming down the woman's face. She immediately rushed to kiss and hug her son. "Michael, my dear, how have you changed?" Mom said. "Hello, Mom. You've been standing here all day today." Michael tried to brighten things up a little with a joke. "I heard a car coming through the window. I looked out and there you were," Mom said. "You were such a young boy, and now you're a man. Let's not talk about it." Michael stopped his mother's lamentations. "I've never really talked about it, and we don't talk about where I've been." "All right, let's go to dinner. I set the whole table for you." Michael went into the kitchen. There was indeed a whole feast prepared. Mom did not touch the food. She ran to the local tea and kept her eyes on her son. "How's your health, Mom?" Michael asked. "I'm fine. The doctor said I had to have an operation on my veins. Her legs had gotten really bad. I can't stand up without injections. The operation is expensive, $150,000. Mom said with her eyes down. "I haven't even saved half of it. It all goes to the injections. They're not cheap either. Don't you have anything now?" I reassured my mother, Michael. "I'll get a job, and we'll save up for the operation together." Michael spent the evening at home. He looked at job ads, but there was nothing suitable. The guys had no experience or education. But there was a criminal record, which narrowed things down considerably. The job search circle, which was already not extensive. In the morning, Mom fried pancakes with sour cream. Michael took a quick bite and went to get dressed. "Are you going somewhere?" excitedly asked his mother. "I'm going to look for a job. Look at the ads. It's no use." "I'm going. I'm asking around car washes or businesses. Maybe someplace needs auxiliary workers." Michael didn't really believe in the success of his venture, but he couldn't bear to be cooped up again. He wanted to walk the streets of his hometown, to see what had changed in the familiar neighborhoods. Coming out of the entrance, he noticed a familiar drunkard Uncle Sam. He was sitting on a bench with a glass. "Just like 5 years ago, some things change, and some things never change," laughed Michael. "Uncle Sam, it's like you never left this place. Who am I seeing? Your mother told me you'd be back soon." "Well, you've grown up." Sam said hello and hugged an old acquaintance. "I don't understand, you never work. Where do you get money for drinks?" Michael asked. "How I don't work?" A little offended man. "I finished my shift today. Tomorrow is a day off. I don't have the right to rest, do I?" Michael was surprised that this man could have a job. He had never given it a second thought. At that moment, the young man thought that Sam's uncle could help him if his employer agreed to cooperate with a man like Sam. He's not afraid of ex-convicts either. "Where do you work? Don't you need help there?" the boy asked. "Men. Workers are always needed, but it's hard work and thankless. Would you do it?" "I need any job I can get right now. Does your mom need surgery?" "Yeah, I heard the stew's gone bad. Can't even go to the bench like she used to." "You'll find out what's going on with the job. You'll have to hurry the man up." "Michael, there's a construction site at the end of the street. I carry sacks of cement there. You go to the foreman. Maybe he'll give you something a little bigger." "Okay, thanks." Michael went in that direction. He was very proud of himself. He had already found a job before he left home. All that remained was to make a good impression on the foreman. When Michael came to the construction site, the working day was just beginning. The builders were standing at the gate and smoking. The young man asked where to find the foreman, and he himself called him back. "Well, I'm the foreman here, William. What did you want?" said the man, scrutinizing and looking Michael. "Don't you need any help? Cement to replace or serve? Ring? Squared your shoulders?" asked Michael. The foreman called the guy aside so that the others could not hear their conversation. "God sent you to me," William said. Michael smiled to himself at his words. Uncle Sam would be happy to know who he was compared to. "I had a worker hurt the day before yesterday. The facility is on fire. No one agrees. It's dangerous to go." What do you have to do? Michael asked. He ignored the danger warning. Do you know what industrial mountaineering is? Jury prize in the eye? Asked the foreman. Michael had heard about such a profession. He had always been fascinated by people who were not afraid of heights and could hang on one sagebrush high above the ground. He himself was not afraid of heights, but never considered this specialty for himself. I know it when they work at heights, he decided to clarify exactly. Here, look. The man pointed to a questionable structure on an unfinished house. It hung at the height of the 4th floor. Climb into this balcony. They'll lift you up and you'll just have to paint the facade. There's just a little bit left. There's really less than half the work left to do. The house was 9 stories high. It was painted up to the 4th floor. So we have to paint the remaining floors. Michael checked. That's right. You're lucky the hardest job on the high floors was done by your predecessor. You, in fact, have more work to do downstairs. The foreman held out his hand. Well, I agree, of course. And how much will you pay, and when can we start? The foreman told about the rates, which more than satisfied Michael. Said it was working. We need to get started as soon as possible. Gave me a brief safety briefing. Then I can come out this afternoon. I'll just go home now, after changing my clothes, replied a cheerful Michael. I need to bring some papers, you know. William laughed a little. You don't need any papers. I'll take you unofficially, if you don't mind. Michael agreed and went home to get ready for his first day of work. His mother was happy that her son had found a job so quickly and so lucrative. She said you were going to be a janitor. She praised Michael, but you're a builder. It's a good profession. Yes, agreed the young man. If I show myself well, maybe they'll take me to the brigade. But you're not afraid of climbing heights. There are only 4 floors and there is insurance. Michael calmed my mom down. He couldn't stay home for long and went out early. When Michael arrived at his new place of work, there were no construction workers on site. It was still lunchtime. Michael decided to waste no time and see what was in store for him. The gate was not closed and he made his way to the grounds. The young man went up to the 4th floor and came out to the structure where he was to spend the whole day. Apparently, William had already prepared himself. There stood a bucket of paint, and the roller Michael needed to work on. It looked unreliable. It was a simple board on strings. The boy decided to try it out. He put one foot on the board, grabbed the ropes, and when he started to carry the other one, he lost his balance. It was frightening. Michael didn't know what to do. The board began to move away and put his foot back on the floor. He couldn't do it. He put his other foot on the board. It wobbled. Michael grabbed the rope as hard as he could. The board was not attached in any way. From the young man's manipulation and his chaotic movements, it snapped, and Michael was left hanging on the ropes alone. The bindings swung hard and back into the building. The boy would not make it. Besides, he was swinging hard. Down Michael tried not to look because he knew. Then the panic would intensify. He started calling for help, hoping one of the construction workers had already come back from lunch. Hey, what are you doing skating up there? Shouted someone from downstairs. Help me, please. I'm stuck here, shouted Michael. Still down there. There was no response. But after a few minutes that seemed like an eternity to Michael, quick footsteps were heard inside the building. Soon a man appeared in the window. He was clearly not a construction worker. He was wearing an expensive, strict suit. His hair neatly styled, his skin shining with a sea tan. Get me out of here, please, Michael said pitifully. Come on, swing it around a little. And I'll catch you and drag you down here, replied the savior. Michael did as he was told. The man grabbed one rope and pulled the boys out of the trap. He was stout and athletic. It seemed that lifting and pulling Michael up and over was no problem for him. They both sat down on the windowsill and tried to catch their breath. Thank you very much. You saved my life, the young man said and shook the man's hand. Michael, it's a pleasure. Liam answered the savior. Why did you come in here? You seem like a grown man. You have some strange amusements. I work here. First day guiltily, Michael replied. You can tell it's your first day. You've got to get your safety harness in place first, and you don't get up on the boards. You have to sit on them. I just wanted to watch. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll wait for the foreman to explain how I can thank you. You can't. I'm already late for a meeting because of you, Liam replied. No, you saved my life. I can't just let you go. Michael took his watch off his hand. Here, take it. It's expensive. It's all that's left of my dad. I never got to see him. He died years ago. Liam cast an indifferent glance at the gift. He himself had an accessory several times more expensive on his arm. But after a second, his gaze returned to the watch, and he took it and twirled it in his hands, examining it closely. Where did you get it, you say? Slightly faltering in his voice, Liam said, It's Dad's inheritance. He died years ago of cancer. And my mom gave them to me. Said Dad was a good man and would have wanted to give them to me, Michael replied. Liam was immersed in memories. More than 20 years ago, he had a good friend, Noah. They had started a business together. They had gotten married almost at the same time. Noah had become a doting father to his son. For his 18th birthday, Noah gave him a watch engraved with the price of each hour. Remember us. Liam's communication with this friend was cut short. They each had families. Noah from business withdrew gradually. They forgot about each other. It was this watch that Michael gave to Liam. He recognized it at first sight. And when he saw the inoculation, he was convinced he was right. And you are not sorry to give such a valuable gift? He asked the young man. You saved my life. This is the only valuable thing I can offer you in gratitude, Michael replied. You know, I'll take it. Also, please tell me, do you know the history of this watch? I thought my dad said his father gave it to him. That would be my grandfather. Where can I find my grandfather? You don't know? Liam asked, hoping to find an old friend. I've never even talked to him or seen him once in my life. Maybe my mom knows, but she never told me anything about him either. I'm not sure I have him at all. Can I talk to your mom? Michael said the address where he could find his mom. He warned her about possible visitors, so that she wouldn't worry. The boy himself stayed at the construction site to wait for the foreman. The lunch break was coming to an end. Some workers were already returning to the construction site, but no one dared to chase the solid man away. Moreover, he was already leaving. Liam postponed the meeting, for which he was late anyway, and went to the address Michael had given him. Mom opened the door and let the unfamiliar guest in. Hello, my name is Camille. Michael warned me you were coming. The woman said hello. Liam did not go into the room, but stayed in the hallway. He also said hello and introduced himself. The man did not initiate the mother into the details of his acquaintance with her son, as he saw that she was in a serious condition and decided to save her health and nerves. Your son has a wristwatch. Can you tell me where he got it? Asked Liam. Don't think, he didn't steal it. Camille replied, frightened. It's his father's watch. Yes, I know that, and that his father is dead. I'm interested in the original owner. You don't know how to find him. You're probably looking for a Noah? Heavy, sighed the woman. But I can't help you, unfortunately. I've never had any contact with him. I remember that my husband told me that they live in a cottage community. But that was so many years ago. Maybe he's not even alive anymore. And what kind of village is our takeoff? Liam asked. Yes, that's it. You can find out there. Try it. It's an elite neighborhood. Surely everyone knows each other there. Liam thanked the woman for her help and left. Mom was alone with her thoughts. Why would anyone be interested in Michael's watch? But she decided not to fill her head with idle thoughts. It was time to give her an injection, so she went to the neighbor who was helping her. Michael worked his first day without further incident. No one found out about what happened during the lunch hour. The young man worked inefficiently, but the foreman was satisfied with everything. The main thing is that the object will be delivered on time. Why did he need a worker so urgently? Michael found out from the builders. His predecessor fell off the structure, broke both legs. He was now in the hospital. The company had to pay a lot of compensation. That's why Michael was hired unofficially, to avoid similar problems. When Michael returned home, his mother noticed that he did not have his watch. Then her son told her the story, switching with him at the construction site, so that the mother did not worry and did not think that her son again fell into some adventure. Mom, why didn't you ever tell me about Grandpa? Michael decided to find out after the afternoon conversation with a stranger. What should I tell about him? The mother was surprised by the question of her son. I don't know him. I've never even seen him. And your father never said anything about him. That was the end of the subject of relatives for Michael and his mother. The boy told her how his first day at work had gone. Camille was proud of her son. She was pleased that he didn't give up and tried to help her. Liam went to the cottage village the next day to look for his longtime companion. It was an upscale hamlet. The territory was fenced in. Only residents or their guests were allowed in. The man stopped at the gatehouse and approached the guard. "Hello, I need to get inside." "I'm looking for a friend of mine," said Liam. "First and last name of the friend." The guard Noah answered indifferently. "I forgot the last name." Liam lamented to himself that he hadn't thought to find out the last name. He tried to remember, but it was as if the information had slipped his mind. A pillar or a post. "If you have a list of tenants, maybe you could take a look. Do you know how many Noahs I have here?" The security guard said grudgingly, "I'm not going through all the lists to find yours. Especially if the owner didn't warn you about guests. Let me in. I can't let you in. Do I look like a criminal or a thief?" Liam moved a little farther away to show himself. "Why wouldn't you?" The man laughed back. "If you are not welcome, I have no right to let you in. Go away. There will be a clue for you right now." Behind Liam's car was someone else's car. The driver was nodding impatiently on the steering wheel, making it clear that he wanted to get home as soon as possible. "Well, please look. You don't have many houses here." "I know," Liam insisted. "I'm going to call the police." "If you don't leave," the guard raised his voice. Liam heard someone approaching from behind. He turned around and froze. It was the very person he had hoped to find. Noah approached the old acquaintance and hugged him. "Uncle Sam, open up. It's for me," said Noah to the guard. "Noah, I can't believe it," smiled Liam for so many years. "Let's go home and talk. There really is a line behind us." "The people here are self-loving and not very friendly," Noah replied and pointed to the row of cars that lined the road. Noah drove forward to show the way to his house. The men got out of their cars and hugged each other once more. They settled down on the huge terrace and began a conversation. "Well, tell me where you've been." "I see you are doing well," said Liam. "I haven't been anywhere. I'm living, business is developing. My participation is practically not required there, so I spend all my time at home with my wife. Are you and Emily still together?" Liam was surprised. "Yes, for so many years." "How are you doing? How's Adriana?" "I'm good. I don't know about Adriana. I divorced her about 15 years ago. I'm on my own." "Oh, it's a shame and a good thing you found me. I've often thought of you, but I thought you'd move to the sea like you always dreamed." "I have a summer house on the sea, so I guess you could say it's a dream come true. If you want, you can come and visit." Liam laughed. I would love to smile back at Noah. "Why did you decide to find me in the first place?" "An interesting story happened to me yesterday. I helped a boy coup one, and he gave me this in gratitude," said Liam and took out a watch. Noah immediately changed his face when he saw a familiar accessory. He took it in his hands and started to scrutinize it. Tears came to his eyes. "They are slow," he whispered. How is it possible?" "You're telling the boys." "Yes, about 20, maybe more, but not more than 30, Liam replied. "So it's not fame." "Sad," concluded Noah. "He probably sold them." "There was no money." "You what? You didn't put your favorite son anywhere?" Liam was surprised. "Yes, such an unpleasant story happened there." The man became visibly sad. "About 20 years ago, maybe more. He and I had a big fight, and we cut off all communication. I don't even know what his fate is now." What could have happened to cut his own son out of his life? Liam was surprised. He brought his girlfriend to us to meet some waitress. I told him that she only wanted money from him, and he told me that they were in love. What's that? Is that a reason to kick your son out of the house? Don't you understand? Noah objected. Nobody kicked him out. He left on his own, but not without my help, of course. I had a lucrative investor at the time, and he had a daughter. Well, we agreed to match children. Everything was grabbed from the bench. Wife to me, the girl is not very pretty and with claims, but we would live richly, do not need anything. A marriage of convenience. Liam shook his head. What century are you living in? There were such sums at stake there, and I thought of my son first of all. It would be better for him. And he kept telling me about love. That's how I set the condition if he wants to remain my son. He must live by my terms. As you can imagine, he chose a different path, judging by the fact that some kid ended up with the watch. The kid's had a rough life. That's his way and his choice. You wouldn't even want to have a relationship with him now. After all these years, I was amazed at the coolness of Liam's friend, who decided not to say that his son had died a long time ago. Maybe he would have wanted to, but what was the use? He died of cancer years ago. I was informed from the hospital at the funeral and saw him for the last time. Noah answered, I'll keep the watch. Can I keep it as a souvenir? Sure, it's yours. Although that kid said he got it from his father. Where did you see the young man at the construction site? He's confused, not smart at all. Liam laughed. Where would such a man get an expensive watch? Did he steal it or find it? Let it stay with me, answered Noah. Liam did not torture his friend with questions about his son. He refrained from assessing the situation. They closed the topic. The friends, who had not seen each other for several years, already had a lot to discuss. They talked until the evening, promising not to forget about each other and always keep in touch. Michael worked on the construction site for 2 weeks. He was doing well. The foreman praised him and even promised to take him to the next site with official employment. Life made sense to the boy. He was able to pay for his mother's injections and save money for the operation. One day, the quiet and peaceful course of Michael's life was disturbed. When he was returning home, he noticed a strange man on a bench. Coming even closer, he recognized him as his prison mate Ethan. Hey, what are you doing here? Michael was surprised by the unexpected guest. You've got another 6 months in jail. I was released for good behavior. 4 more days of squinting in one eye, answered Ethan. But that's great. Congratulations. How did you find me? What's there to look for? You told me where you live, Ethan answered casually. I found the house from the description, but I guessed the entrance by accident. Well, you're a lucky guy. Michael wanted to get rid of the annoying acquaintance. It's one thing to socialize in prison, where you don't have a choice. But in normal life, he didn't want to make friends like that. He was specifically looking on behalf of the name. Not on purpose, but I just remembered you. Ethan laughed a little. I'm in trouble, to be honest. I'm in trouble, to be honest. Michael laughed and realized that he couldn't get away from his comrades. I'll have to help you. It's just a temporary problem. My wife chased me away. She found a new boyfriend. He kicked my ass out. Can I stay with you for another week? Michael was horrified by the request. He was a very polite and kind man and didn't know how to culturally refuse to help. It seemed that Ethan did not expect a refusal. But the young man did not want to let the former criminal in, especially in the house with his mom. I'm sorry, but my mom's sick. It's not my apartment. How can I invite guests? Michael answered uncertainly. I won't interfere too much. I'll sit quietly. You won't notice that I'm talking to you. It's not my house. My mom won't want to let anyone in. Let's go. I'll talk to my mom myself. We'll talk to her in no time. The main thing is that you don't mind. Ethan kept insisting. I didn't, but Michael was worried that his mother wouldn't be able to say no, but she wouldn't agree either. Ethan didn't let him finish. He jumped up from the bench, took the bag and Michael under his arm, and led them into the entrance. Mom, I'm not alone, Michael shouted, stepping into the apartment. Come on in. I have dinner ready. Mom greeted the boys hospitably. Hello. Ethan theatrically bent down and introduced himself. At the table, Ethan nudged Michael several times, hinting that it was time to start talking. The boy tried to delay the moment, unable to withstand Ethan's pressure. Michael gave in and told his mom the news that they were going to be a threesome. Camille's face showed that she was not happy about this news, but the woman pretended that all was well. So Ethan stayed with them, but not for long. On the first day, the guest behaved modestly. He helped around the house, fixed a faucet that had been dripping for a long time. He went to the store so Camille wouldn't have to carry heavy bags, even cooked dinner. On the second day, Ethan suggested Michael brighten the evening with a bottle of liquor. What did he say no to? It was Friday, Ethan insisted. What do you care? You have every day off. Michael laughed. I'll go to the store, Ethan replied. Packed up and went. Taking advantage of the moment, the mother decided to talk to her son, and delaying the noise all the guests. Where did you meet this young man? At work. He had a fight with his wife. Soon to make up and move out. Michael lied. He didn't want his mom to be nervous. He didn't look like a construction worker. His tattoos are so ugly. Why doesn't he come to work with you? He's on vacation. He's fine there. He'll be gone soon. I promise, Michael replied. Although he didn't know how to see his friend off, Ethan returned an hour later in a better mood. He continued drinking alone and then began throwing dishes around in the kitchen. Michael came to the noise and told his mother to stay in the hall. What are you doing? Shouted at Ethan Michael. What was she doing cheating on me? Well, I'm there and that bitch didn't miss me. Shouted a drunk Ethan. Apparently, about his unfaithful spouse, he'd go and deal with her. Why would you trash my apartment? Right, I'll fix it tomorrow. Sorry, bro. Come on, let's have a drink, replied the guest and put his arm around Michael. No, go to bed if you don't calm down. I'll call the police. You're scaring me with the cops. Ethan's face changed in a frightened mass. He slowly walked towards Michael and pounced on him. A fight broke out between the guys, as Ethan was very drunk. It was not difficult to quiet him down. After getting in the eye, the drunken guest calmed down, collapsed on the sofa, and immediately fell asleep. The next day, he looked guiltily. He looked at Michael, expecting forgiveness. He got up early, cleaned up the broken plates that had been left for him, fixed the broken stool, and wiped up the dirt. I apologized profusely for the inconvenience. Naively, Ethan said. When Michael walked into the kitchen, You're forgiven, of course, but you need to find a new place to live. The young man said firmly, You've done it once. Why do you have to kick me out right away? My mom's blood pressure spiked last night from nerves. I can't risk her health. I'm sorry, but you have to go. Okay, it's hard, sighed Ethan. I won't be here on Monday. You won't be here today, Michael repeated insistently. Bro, how am I gonna find a place to live tonight? I'll see you tomorrow. I'll go through my contacts today, Ethan asked and waved his hands in the air. Okay, you have until lunch tomorrow. And then I'm sorry, I don't care where you go. Here you and your comrades promises so much talk. But how do you run away from me? Ethan read it, but Michael didn't listen to him. The comrade left early the next day. Mom and Michael were still asleep. They woke up to a loud bang on the door. The guest had left a note on the kitchen table. Thank you for the temporary shelter. You're such an asshole. It turns out. Michael was not offended by the insults, but did not show his mother the letter. They cleaned the house together and forgot about the episode. On Monday, Michael went to work as usual. Mom was waiting for a neighbor who had to go to the pharmacy to get a shot and then put it. No sooner had Michael changed his clothes than he was distracted by the phone ringing. It was his mom. Michael, did you take money from the money you had set aside? She asked. Did she sound worried? No. Why? What do you need the money for? My pension was delayed. I wanted to take it for a shot and then report back. There's 30,000 short. Michael got sick. That's the money his mom saved while he was still incarcerated for a while. And he added it from the paycheck he got last week. He realized that Ethan had stolen the money. It was immediately obvious that there was no getting it back. But he didn't want to make his mother nervous again, so he lied. Yeah, I got fined at work. Messed up the materials here. But I'll pay it all back. Don't worry, you'll have enough for today's shot. Yeah, but I'll borrow some from Aunt Sveta. Michael should have consulted me. Goodbye, Mom. I'm sorry. I'll pay it all back with interest. Michael went back to work, quietly berating himself for letting the thief into the house. It was to be expected. You can't trust people so blithely. Another week passed. No one bothered Michael and his mom anymore. He tried to find Ethan, but it was no use. He did file a police report just in case. Noah put the watch on the shelf in the bedroom. He wanted to order a case for it to keep it in his collection. Emily, his wife, found the watch. She immediately recognized the accessory that belonged to her son. Unlike her spouse, she did not want to chase her son out of the house. The woman hoped that the boy would freak out and take the side of his parents. Marriage to a poor girl she did not approve of either, but she was not so adamant. Emily took the watch and sat with it all day, waiting for the return of Noah. She had many questions for her husband. As soon as he crossed the threshold of the house, she pounced on him with questions. "Honey, is there anything you want to tell me?" Emily asked. "And you?" "Good afternoon. What's the complaint?" "I haven't had a chance to come in yet." Emily showed her husband the clock, and he immediately changed his mood. It was obvious that a serious conversation was imminent. "So what do you want to know?" Noah asked, sitting down next to his wife. "Everything. I want to know where you got it." Liam brought them. "Remember, my old comrade, the one you were always railing against. Some kid gave them to him for his help, and you decided not to let me in on the story. First of all, you didn't like Liam. I didn't want to ruin your mood. Second of all, what difference does it make where I got it? The item has been returned to its rightful owner. That's good. That's all. Who's the kid? How did he get it?" "I don't get it, Emily. How do I know?" "From his father, I think." "What's the difference?" "You're not interested. These things don't just fall into the wrong hands. Maybe this boy has something to do with fame. The boy works on a construction site as an accessory. What could he have to do with our son? He probably stole them. You'd think you'd leave fame with a mountain of gold, wouldn't you?" Emily was indignant. "Darling." Noah started to get angry. "The glory is long gone. His girl could have pawned that watch. She, had nothing to live on. Forget it. No, you're gonna find me this guy, and he's gonna tell us the truth." The wife insisted. "You got nothing to do. Where am I gonna find him?" Emily Noah was surprised. "Liam, yours will help you. There must be some use for him. Please stop. If you don't have anything better to do, we can go on a vacation. Why bother with these clocks and people?" I persuaded Noah's wife. I said, "Find it." "This conversation is over," Emily replied firmly. "I certainly like it when you are so strict and inquisitive, but sometimes it gets unbearable." Noah grumbled a little more at his wife and called an old friend to find out more about the boy. "Hello, dear friend. Don't be surprised by my request, but I need the kid who gave me the watch. I started with the Noah case, and good luck to you. What do you need him for?" Liam was surprised. Emily found the watch. She has a researcher's personality, and she wants to find out how he got the watch and the whole history of the accessory. Liam laughed into the phone. "I've always loved your metaphorical skills, and to be honest, I was surprised myself at the time that you didn't want to find out the history of the watch. I don't have a lot of free time. In fact, I don't want to waste it on such nonsense. But I have to. I'll send you the address where he lives. His mom's sick there, so you'd better come in the evening so he'll be home too." "She might not open the door," Liam said. Noah thanked his friend. They talked some more, shared the news, and said goodbye. The man didn't want to load the weekend with the case, so he decided to tell Emily that the address wouldn't be in until Monday. On Saturday, Michael was disturbed by Benjamin. He invited a comrade to visit to introduce him to his girlfriend. "I would love to, but I have a mom. How can I leave her alone?" He tried to turn it down, Michael, but it's just for a little while. Just for a couple hours. Benjamin persuaded his friend. "I'm thinking about proposing to Evelyn. I need your friendly approval." "If it's so good," agreed Michael. Sincerely recovering from the shock, "You're a good man for taking such a step. I'll be there at 5. The young man warned his mother that he was going to visit a friend. She didn't mind. He had to get out somewhere, especially since he and Aunt Jenna wanted to watch a melodrama together. Michael chose a decent outfit and went to Benjamin's house. Benjamin and Lisa had been living together for several months. The friend greeted Michael with a big smile. From the apartment came the pleasant romance of a sealed chicken. It was a typical young couple's apartment, a small one-bedroom with modest renovations. There was a living room, a bedroom, and an office. In the corner was a desk that was piled with student notebooks. It was Benjamin's workstation. Next to it was another desk, on which neat baby jars of Cage creams and other cosmetics stood. This is Evelyn's seat. Come into the kitchen. We already have everything ready. Invited comrades Benjamin, cozy at your place. Complimented Michael. We try. Benjamin introduced his girlfriend to his friend. They exchanged pleasantries. The guest was a little embarrassed. The girl, on the other hand, felt confident. During the conversation, Michael learned that Evelyn worked as a makeup artist. And then he realized why she needed so much makeup. She showed pictures of the girls she had made up. In general, Evelyn drew a lot of attention to herself. Benjamin didn't even have to say anything. Michael was uncomfortable with such an active participation of the girl. She often touched him in a casual way and held his gaze longer than was allowed. Benjamin did not notice the signs about his beloved or tried to pretend that he did not pay attention. They sat for about an hour, drinking tea. But gradually, the atmosphere grew duller and duller. Benjamin, you should have at least brought wine, Evelyn said. I offered, but you refused, the young man remarked. Why? So, all right, sit down. The chicken is wonderful, or Michael tried to change the subject. But it would be even better with wine, Evelyn added. And everyone laughed. Benjamin, go to the store and get a bottle of red and a cake for tea. All right, Benjamin reluctantly agreed. Let me go with you, Michael volunteered, and leave me alone. Surprised asked Evelyn to take me with her. I have to put on makeup. So it turned out that Benjamin went alone. As soon as he left, Evelyn began to show signs of attention to Michael. Even more actively, she began to complain that Benjamin does not earn enough and does not want to take tutoring. She asked if Michael could help hint to his friend that a man should earn a lot. That's his business, replied Michael. Why am I going to pry with throwaway advice? Benjamin told me you're an industrial climber. I hear they make a lot of money. Well, climber's a bit of a mouthful. I just paint walls up high, but then I want to get training to get this profession. Shared plans, Michael. You see, you have plans and goals, but the girl does not. Evelyn continued to praise the guys, and Benjamin has no ambitions. The girl sat down close to Michael. He, on the other hand, moved a little away from her. Then she moved again, but the young man had nowhere to go. On the other side, there was a wall. Evelyn put her hand on Michael's knee and looked straight into his eyes. Evelyn, I don't like what you're implying at all. I should probably go. Where would you go? Eyes wide open, Evelyn. Benjamin will be back by now. But we can make it in time. She wanted to make it. The girl did not finish and sharply kissed Michael. The guy did not understand what happened, but after a few seconds, he pushed her away. What are you doing? He shouted at Evelyn. I have the same question, said Benjamin sternly, who suddenly appeared in the doorway. He came home because he forgot to take his wallet. Benjamin, he was harassing me. As soon as you left, right away he started grabbing. Evelyn screamed and jumped up from her seat, snuggling up to Benjamin. What are you telling me? I saw that you were the one who went for him. He made me. The girl continued to justify herself. Benjamin, you saw that she was the one. I would never. You know, said a frightened Michael. Benjamin said nothing and left the apartment. Michael ran after him. Evelyn stayed home and continued to pick nervously at the chicken. Benjamin, wait, shouted Michael, who had almost caught up with his friend. I had nothing to do with it. She did it on her own. Yes, I know, said Benjamin and stopped. I want to get drunk, but I didn't take the money again. I've got nothing, Michael said, clapping his comrade on the shoulder. Even though it's not a solution. The friends bought a small bottle of whiskey for two and sat down in the nearest gazebo. Benjamin needed to pour out his soul. Michael did not want to leave his comrade alone in such a situation. I was going to propose to her. It's good that you opened my eyes. Honestly, you don't want her. She's only interested in money. Michael supported his friend. Yeah, she's been bugging me about it. Although I've been tutoring for a long time, and I get a lot more than she thinks. Just saving up for the ring and the wedding. And then we'd be fine. Look at this one. Benjamin showed me a ring with a huge diamond. It's beautiful, but she doesn't deserve it. Keep it, you can give it to a normal girl later. They sat there for hours. Michael hardly drank it all. Benjamin, on the other hand, dried almost the whole bottle. To keep his friend out of trouble, Michael decided to walk him home. Evelyn was no longer in the apartment. There was a note hanging on the mirror on her belongings, too. I wish I could continue to stay in this shithole, only now alone. Yeah, a girl with a temper, Michael said. Let her go, muttered Benjamin, who could barely stand on his feet. After making sure that his companion would be all right, Michael went home. On the way, he reflected that he, too, would like a family and children. But first he should cure his mom and already think about his personal life. Later, Noah hoped his wife would take care of the clock story. But on Monday at breakfast, she brought it up again. We're going to see this guy tonight. Calm down, Noah replied to his wife. You have the address, she clarified. Round it up in your eyes. I do. I hope you're happy, sarcastically said the man. On Monday, the day at the construction site began with an incident. William called all the workers together for a meeting. He was silent for a long time, searching for words. I don't know if you are aware of this, but there was an emergency on Friday. The foreman began to speak hesitantly. The death of a man is now called an accident, shouted someone from the crowd of construction workers. I'm speaking in terms. Irresponsible work practices are to blame, William continued. Our loader was crushed by a package of cement. It was his own fault. Showed up for work drunk. Misjudged his strength, didn't follow safety procedures. This guy had an unofficial job. He worked odd jobs. That's why we're in for some tough inspections when the inspector comes. Everyone who's here illegally says it's their first day on the job. Yes, we've got half the crew working on their first day. A disgruntled voice came from the crowd. And I always say, don't hire any of the trash. We don't wrap wrappers in candy here. Another worker was outraged. Everyone gasped. Michael felt sick. He knew only one loader who worked unofficially and could come in drunk. It was Uncle Sam. He decided to find out from his coworkers if it was him. The guy found a man in the crowd who was yelling for the first time and turned to him. Say, did you know this loader who was crushed? He asked. Yes, our local alcoholic Sam, answered the man. Though he liked to destroy, but he was a good man. I feel sorry for him. Michael was sad that his suspicions were confirmed. He felt sorry for his old neighbor, but nothing could be done. After the meeting, the foreman called Michael for a talk. The young man was afraid because William looked very serious in the light of recent events. The conversation could end unfavorably for Michael. Michael, have you turned out to be a great worker? I'm thinking of hiring you for the parking lot crew. You'll do it, of course. Michael's got a bit of a spotlight on him. You'll have to go through training to get your license. Otherwise, we're all going to be in big trouble if we get audited. Okay, I'll do it. Training is expensive. The company will pay for part of it, and we'll take the rest out of your paycheck. It's in our best interest. I'll need the paperwork from you so I can get started. The course is only 3 months long. You'll get $1,000 for 5 less for it. But then more will go officially, the foreman explained. Michael thought to himself he could afford it. But in this case, he would pay back the debt for the stolen money later. The young man agreed. Then his salary would increase several times. He would be able to afford to pay for the operation without paying the debt, so William continued. Tomorrow you bring all the papers. Don't forget, we can't stall. Tell me, Michael decided to clarify. Do you really think so? Or are you just afraid of the inspection? Are you talking nonsense? William was surprised. I told you a week ago that we were going to formalize you. If you're so unsure of yourself, you should think again. Do you want it? As you can see, this is a high-risk job. I'm sure the young man was afraid the boss might change his mind. I just thought I'd ask. I'll bring it all back tomorrow. Michael left work in a hurry to please his mother with good news. In the driveway, he noticed an unfamiliar car, too expensive for their neighborhood. He did not yet know that the owner of this car was now in his apartment. Noah and Emily arrived about 20 minutes earlier than Michael had returned. When Camille opened the door, she immediately recognized the guests. She had seen them once in her life, but she remembered them forever. This day was the funeral of her favorite Glory. The guests recognized the woman too, even though it had been 20+ years. When Noah realized who was standing in front of him, he no longer considered it a waste of time. "Hello, what do you want from me?" In disbelief, Camille asked. "Maybe you should invite me in first, too," Noah replied. "Noah, you're out of your mind. You can't behave like this. We are guests." Emily reprimanded her husband. "I'm sorry, we just wanted to talk." Camille invited them in, but looked at them with distrust. She didn't have a negative attitude toward these people, but she didn't understand why they remembered her after all these years. "I think you know our son Slava." Emily began to speak carefully. "We knew each other," Camille laughed playfully. "According to you, I ruined his life." "We never said that, and we never thought that," Noah objected. "Oh, come on, we did." Sadly, Emily confirmed. "We were stupid. I only now realize that I should have thought of my son's happiness instead of my own ambitions. If that scandal hadn't happened then, Jacob might not have died." "It was too late to talk about it," Camille remarked. "There was no bringing him back. Nothing can be changed." "What exactly brings you to me?" Camille stopped a little warmer towards these people. They had done nothing wrong. I remembered them occasionally, but only in a bad way. She liked Emily almost immediately. She could see that she was truly sorry for what she had done to her son. Noah, on the other hand, had not yet earned her sympathy. He was acting rather arrogant. Noah took out his watch and showed it to Camille. "I suppose you know this thing," he said. "Yes, it's my son's watch, which originally belonged to your son." Camille replied calmly. "We were wondering how your son came to have it." "We know about ours," Noah said. But for some reason his voice softened and even trembled. "Because Jacob always told me that this watch was given to him by his father on his 18th birthday, and he dreamed of giving it to his son. But he didn't live to see his son come of age." Emily was beginning to realize what Camille was going to say next, and tears were gathering in her eyes. Noah also guessed, and heavy from his eyes. "When I got pregnant," Camille continued, "Glory was diagnosed with cancer. We were going to fight it, get treatment, but we didn't have the money. And it was too late. It burned out in a few months. We were still a couple weeks away from giving birth, but Jacob already felt he wouldn't see his son again. So he gave the watch to me and asked me to give it to his son, so that he could have a memory of his father, whom he had never seen." "What a sentimental cry Slavachka was," said Emily. Camille looked at her uncomprehendingly. Noah also looked at his wife. Doesn't she understand? "So your son is our grandson." Noah decided to clarify, although it was clear. That's when Michael came home. "Mom," he shouted from the hallway. "Do you know who's got such a cool car there?" "Oh, hello, Michael." He was startled by the strangers. He didn't expect to see someone in his kitchen. Emily turned pale, and when she looked at the face of the young man and grabbed the shoulder of the spouse Jen, "He is the same." Slaka finished the sentence for spouse Noah. "Michael, I was embarrassed by such close attention to his person." The guy, perplexed, looked at the guests, who did not take his eyes off him, and his mother, who for some reason also very carefully looked at him. "What's going on here?" Michael decided to find out. Noah stood up and gave Michael the watch. "Here, it's yours by right, and don't give it to anyone else." Noah said, "It's a gift now, not only from your father, but also from your grandfather." Michael looked questioningly at her mother. She nodded her head in response. Emily rushed to hug the young man. He pulled away from her a little. "Michael, I understand your feelings, but I am very happy to have a grandson." "How much do you look like your father?" Emily said, and hugged him. Camille cried. She found the scene very sentimental. Noah stood up and hugged his grandson too. "We will correct the mistakes we made with your father," said the man. "What mistakes?" Michael did not understand what was going on. "Mom, will you explain something to me?" "I never lied to you. I see these people like you might say, for the first time," Mom replied. "But they really are your grandparents." Noah and Emily told how they drove their son away. Years ago, they apologized to Camille for not accepting her. Noah asked Michael to tell about himself. The young man told his sad life story. He shared his plans. At the same time, he pleased his mother with the news that he would soon have a real profession. "Why would you waste your health on a construction site when I can get you a job with my company?" Proposed, "No, you be the boss. Shuffle papers in my office. No one will even look at your criminal record. We'll get you an education." "No, thank you." Michael said no. "I don't want that. I want to make it on my own. Besides, I'm interested in my work, and sitting in an office is not for me. I can never feel confident if I know that everything is given to me by Blygot." But definitely Jacob's son laughed at Emily. "He too refused any help from us." "That's commendable," Noah said. Michael called his grandfather away for a private conversation. Emily stayed with Camille. She wanted to ask about the details of her son's personal life, how he reasoned, how he felt. It was important for her to know that Jacob was happy in his last days. "Noah, I can't call you grandfather yet. Do you mind?" Michael asked. "Call it what you want," Noah replied. "I realized you had something to ask me." "Yes, the thing is, my mom needs surgery. It should have been done a long time ago, but we can't save up the money. And an old acquaintance of mine robbed us, and that's pushed our plans back a lot." Michael's a little miffed. "The operation costs $150,000. From what you've offered me, that's not that much money for you. We won't be able to save up until 6 months from now. You don't have to go on. I heard you. We'll do your mom's surgery," Noah replied. "But please, let me take her to a normal clinic with my own good doctor. I don't trust the doctors at the local clinics." "That would be wonderful. I wouldn't even dare ask you to do that." Now Michael himself hugged his doomed grandfather. They shook hands. Noah and Emily said goodbye and asked him not to forget about them and to keep in touch. When Michael was alone with his mom, he decided to share the sad news with her. "Did you hear that Uncle Sam died?" he asked that drunkard. "Why should I be surprised? It is strange that he lived to his years." Mom replied indifferently. "He didn't die from drinking. He was crushed by cement. By the way, if it wasn't for him, I would never have found a job," replied Michael, who felt a little bad for his neighbor. "I didn't know he worked," Mom said, in the same indifferent tone. "You see, son, how important reputation is. You can be a good and honest man, but everyone will still think you're a drunk and a bum. And everyone will say his wine ruined him." "I agree with you," replied the son, "but it can be the other way around. I am an example. After all, I also thought that the former criminal could never become a worthy member of society. But it turns out that he could." Mom stroked her son's head. She was proud of how Michael had grown up, smart and hardworking. Indeed, he had conquered his reputation. A week later, Michael's mom was picked up by driver Noah, who took her to the clinic. Camille was left in the hospital for a week. During that time, she underwent surgery. She remained under observation. Michael kept in touch with her and kept in touch with her grandparents, who were very nice people. He formalized his job and he began his training, which took place in the evening after work hours. One day he was coming home late. His studies had gotten late, so he had to stay late. Mom was still in the hospital, so he wasn't worried about it. He got off work. It was getting dark. It took him about 10 minutes to get to the entrances, when suddenly he heard a heartbreaking shriek. A girl had come to the rescue from somewhere very close by. But in the darkness, Michael could not understand where the sound was coming from. The young man stopped to listen and noticed a stirring in the bushes. Some voices were also coming from there. He cautiously moved closer, looking carefully into the darkness. "Help!" the girl whispered in a low whisper. "Shut up!" a man's voice answered her. If she hadn't screamed, it would have been over faster. "Give me the money." Michael saw lying on the back of a frightened girl, who was clutching a purse in her hands. A man was leaning over her with a knife in his hand. His other hand was on the unfortunate victim's throat. The boy grabbed the assailant, struck him, and disarmed him. The girl, from fear, could not move from her seat, but then it was as if she was pierced. She jumped up and ran away. Michael was left alone with the criminal. They got into a fight. The villain managed to pick up the knife he had knocked out earlier and stabbed Michael in the side. But he did not stop resisting and broke his rival's nose. He cried out in pain and stepped into the light. Michael was stunned. Standing in front of him was his old acquaintance, Ethan. "You bastard," Ethan hissed, holding his side, which was bleeding. "Michael, brother, did you break my nose?" shouted Ethan. "Not nice at all. I'm done with you. You traitor, you stole my money. You knew the situation my mom and I were in, and you stole it anyway. I'm a traitor after that. I didn't take it all. If I was a bastard, I'd have cleaned out every penny," Ethan said and lunged at Michael again. He couldn't get to the wounded guy. He was twisted instantly. The girl managed to run to the stronghold and called the police. It turns out that Ethan has long been wanted for numerous assaults and robberies. When Michael realized that everything was over, he relaxed, and it came to him that he was wounded. A sharp pain in Baku pierced his entire body. He fell to the ground and lost consciousness. Michael regained consciousness several hours later. It was already morning. When he opened his eyes, he saw an environment that did not resemble a familiar hospital at all. The only thing that reminded him that he was in a medical institution were the machines that were beeping quietly. He was lying on a huge bed. A plasma TV hung on the wall in front of him. In the corner was a chair in which Noah was dozing. Next to Michael was Emily holding her grandson's hand. Michael's whole body ached, but especially her left side. Her lips were dry from writing in blood. His eye could barely open. It felt like it was twice its usual size. "Finally, no." He opened his eyes, she said quietly. Noah immediately woke up and approached the injured man. His eyes were filled with sympathy. He could not bear to see his grandson's disfigured face. "But how do you feel? Do you remember what happened?" asked the agitated man. "I remember. And where did I say? And the powerless Michael. It's okay. Are you at the clinic? Your mom got a call from the police about what happened. She called us right away. She did the right thing. They didn't have you in line for stitches at the hospital." Bastards explained the situation to Noah. "Honey, don't swear." Emily Michael reprimanded her husband. "You're a hero. The police gave you a reward for catching a criminal. They've been looking for him for a long time. Where's Mom? She must be worried, Michael. She was worried sick." "Yeah, she was worried sick, but she's sedated. She's sleeping in the next room. Did we put you two next to each other on purpose?" Emily answered. "There was a girl asking about you." "What girl?" "I don't get it. The guy you saved. She wanted to visit you, if you don't mind," said Noah. "I don't mind. Let her come. I can imagine what she's been through." Michael realized he couldn't remember what the victim looked like. He hadn't been able to see her in the dark, but what he did remember was her terrified scream from the police station for help. "I realize now is not the best time. But I would like to clarify," said Noah. "Do you really want to continue to live and work in this terrible neighborhood? What if your mother is attacked next time? You won't be able to be around forever. You've been seriously hurt yourself. It's lucky that scumbag didn't hit his organs." "Grandpa," Michael replied. It was the first time he had ever called Noah that. "I told you before, I want to do everything on my own, especially since the culprit has been caught. Previously, our neighborhood wasn't known for being life-threatening." Noah and Emily didn't push it any further. They decided to give Michael time to recover and then once again suggest moving. A few hours later, Camille came into Michael's room. She looked frightened and a little frazzled. Her legs were having trouble moving after the surgery, so she was sitting on a gurney chair. The mom had a very long talk with her son, saying she was proud of him, but asked him not to risk his life again. The conversation was interrupted by a nurse. "Excuse me, Michael, you have a visitor. And you, Camille, you have to go on a drip," said the nurse. "All right, invite her in," Michael replied. Camille was wheeled out of the room. She looked carefully at the girl who was waiting outside the door. "Thank you for raising such a brave son," she said and shook Camille's hand. "As a mother, I am very pleased to hear that," Camille replied and covered the girl's hand with her palm. She thought she was very nice and cute. Michael raised himself a little on the bed so that he would not look so unhappy. He took a quick look in the mirror, fixed his hair, and squared his shoulders. Surprised at his own behavior, "Hello, my hero," said the smiling guest. "How are you feeling?" "My name is Wendy, but it's better just Wendy. "Hello, victims." Michael smiled back and introduced himself as feeling fine. Scars adorn a man. Michael was visibly embarrassed in front of Wendy. She turned out to be a very beautiful girl. Her pink dress added innocence to the image. It was hard to imagine that this innocent person had helped Michael avoid being killed in an alley. "I'm so grateful to you. I was so scared yesterday. I think I had half a headache." Wendy smiled. "Did you save me too? If you hadn't called for help, I never would have gotten over him." They talked for about an hour, and then the conversation was interrupted again by the nurse, who announced that it was time to go to lunch. Visiting hours are over. "Will we see each other again, hopefully?" Michael asked. "If you want, I can come tomorrow, but only in the evening." "I have work in the afternoon," replied Wendy. "They barely let me go today as it is." "I'll look forward to the evening," the young man replied and looked at the girl. For the rest of the day, he drew in his imagination the image of the beautiful Wendy. He memorized her every curve, her fluffy curly hair that lay on her shoulders. It seemed he could no longer imagine his existence without her. Wendy found her savior handsome too. Even the bruises under his eyes and the swollen, broken lips didn't spoil his appearance. She told her coworkers about her hero, and they began to match her immediately. Girlfriends have long been worried that Wendy goes alone. When they were all already married, Michael remained under the care of doctors for 3 more days. During this time, he had no time to be bored to visit him. Every day, his grandparents, his mom, and Wendy came to visit. Camille noticed that her son had changed a little. "Has my boy fallen in love?" she teased, "and you pretended not to take the hint?" "Michael, is Wendy coming over today?" Mom asked. "How do you know?" "First of all, she comes every day. Second of all, you've been showering all day again. You've already gone twice, even though it's only 10 o'clock. "Well, I have to. This has nothing to do with anything. It's just stuffy in here," justified Michael. "Oh, come on. I don't have anything against it. Wendy's a very nice girl. I liked her right away, so kind and bright without losing it. That could be considered a parental blessing." Michael laughed. "Why not? I was cured. You got a job. You can start thinking about your family. By the way, Noah and Emily haven't talked to you." "Of course they've talked to us. They come by every day too. You guys really keep me busy around here." As soon as Michael said that, Noah and his wife came into the room. Michael and Camille immediately laughed at the coincidence. "It's good that you're so cheerful. Maybe you can share your joy with us," Emily said. "It's nothing. It's just a coincidence. We were just thinking about you," said Camille. "We have good news too," Noah said and sat down on the couch. "You're both being discharged today." "That's very good news," said Michael. "And we want to ask you again," Emily entered the conversation. "Why have you come to our place? We have a maid. You will not have to clean and cook. You will rest after the surgery. We're always here for you." Camille looked questioningly at Michael. Noah had been having this conversation with her for a long time, but she couldn't accept his invitation. "You've done so much for us already," Michael replied. "But from your village is very difficult to get to my work, and I cannot accept the invitation, but I promise to come often to visit." "I agree with my son. I have my whole life in my own apartment. Especially Michael may soon get married and move out of my place," replied Camille and winked at Michael. "That's the news." Emily rejoiced. "Mom jokes and hurries things up a lot," replied Michael and looked at his mother sternly. She got a little embarrassed. "Okay," finished Noah. "If you don't want to, we won't insist. But you know that our offer is always valid. The doors of our house are always open to you. Pack your bags. After lunch, my driver will take you home." After the grandparents' visit, Wendy came to see Michael. "I'm being discharged today," the young man shared his joy. "That's great news." Wendy was happy. "Although it's a little sad that our hospital visits will stop. I was starting to like it. That doesn't mean the regular dates can come to an end either. If you don't mind," Michael winked at the girl. They agreed to meet the next day and go to a movie. The date happened. Michael gave her a beautiful bouquet. They talked the whole evening as if they had known each other for years. After this meeting, it was obvious to both of them that they could not let each other go. As Michael walked Wendy home, a car hit a puppy in front of them. The driver didn't even stop to see what had happened, or if the dog was alive. Wendy rushed to the rescue with lightning speed. Michael did not realize what had happened and ran after the girl. "He's alive," said Wendy. "He has an open fracture. Look, there's a bone sticking out of his paw." Michael had a hard time looking at the sight. A little duckling with a bloody foot. He smoked so loudly you can't take it without heartache. "What do I have to do?" asked Michael. "We need to get him into the hospital, get him checked out, and put a cast on. The time is 11 o'clock. All the veterinary clinics are closed, and a regular hospital will turn me and my dog away. Then let's go to my clinic." "I have the keys," Wendy replied. They hailed a cab. Michael wrapped the duckling in his shirt and held him in his arms. When the car arrived and they headed to their destination, Michael thought that he never found out who his lover worked for. "You said we were going to your clinic. Are you a doctor?" asked the young man. "Yes, I work as a veterinarian," replied Wendy. "My friend and I opened a private clinic. I always have the keys with me. Very, by the way, as it turns out." Michael looked at the girl with admiration. He fell in love with her even more. The fragile angel-like Raven still loved animals, even saved their lives. At the hospital, Wendy quickly made a place for the puppy. Michael helped to put a cast on him. The girl quickly performed an examination. It was a 3-month-old purse of an ordinary mutt, but very cute. When the rescue was finished to the trimmed face of Michael, he thanked his savior. Wendy laughed. "I'm just a helper, and today's hero is you." The puppy was put in a cage, given a bowl of water and food. It was decided to leave him at the clinic for the time being and then to find owners. Immediately after the discharge, Michael went to the construction site to announce that from tomorrow, he would return to work and study. The crew greeted him with joy. The men praised Michael and cheered him on. "You probably need a guard, don't you?" William joked. "I almost lost my best worker." "He's better than any guard at catching cops and criminals," one of the workers added. And everyone laughed. A couple weeks later, Michael and Wendy were called to court in the Ethan case. They appeared as witnesses for the defendants and took their eyes off their former friend. He seemed to think only Michael was guilty, but not himself. The guy was uncomfortable with that creepy look. Michael received an award and congratulations for catching a dangerous criminal. Now Ethan was not going to be back on the loose anytime soon. His ex-wife and her lover were also present, but even she didn't get a fraction of the hatred and contempt Ethan gets. To him, his greatest enemy is Michael. "Did you see the way he looked at you?" Crash asked as the couple walked out of the courthouse. "Yeah, it was creepy. But we'll never see him again," reassured his beloved Michael. "Hopefully, I really don't want to. How's Jack doing?" Michael asked about the rescue puppy. His name was given to him by his partner Wendy. "He's running around like a madman. He's had all the vaccinations he needs. He's ready to move into a home, but there's no takers. Sad," said the accident. "If it had been a pedigree puppy, it would have found owners quickly. But nobody wants a mongrel. And he's very handsome and kind. He'll grow up to be a real friend." "I have a thought about Jack," Michael said thoughtfully. "Will you take him for yourself? In hope?" asked the wreck. "No, but I know someone who might. I'd like you to meet my family if you don't mind. We'll offer them the puppy there." Wendy agreed. Emily and Noah had been inviting their grandson and his girlfriend to visit for a long time. They wanted to take an active part in Michael's life to fill in the gaps made with fame. The next weekend, Michael with his mother and Wendy went to an elite village. The girl looked at the place with surprise and interest, where she was brought by a guy with a personal driver. The car was sent for them by Emily and Noah. The hosts welcomed the guests in a friendly manner. They settled down on the veranda. Michael and his grandfather took care of the kebabs, while Emily asked Wendy about her work and her relationship with her grandson. The conversation was quiet and private. Camille was delighted with her daughter-in-law. Emily also took a liking to her. Later, the men joined them. "Michael, you have a very nice girl," praised the choice of grandson Emily. "I know Grandma," Michael replied. "You know, I think you two are getting very bored here." Finally, Noah was pleased, thinking that his grandson had decided to move in. "We've had your rooms ready for you for a long time. I knew you would accept our invitation." Camille looked at her son in surprise. She didn't know what she was going to say. "No, Grandpa, you misunderstood me. We are not moving in with you. Wendy and I rescued a puppy a while back. He's very smart and beautiful, but he has one problem. He's a mutt. You rescued a puppy. How did you do that?" Emily asked. "He was hit by a car and had a broken paw and a slight concussion," Wendy explained. "Vashchenko, I have a veterinarian," added Michael. "What's a good profession?" inserted Noah. So Michael continued, "This is a beautiful puppy, but he needs a home. I wanted to take him home, but keeping a dog in an apartment is animal cruelty. Wendy already has 2 cats. They wouldn't take a baby in their company, so I was thinking, it looks like we have the rooms ready for a dog," laughed Noah, who understood what Michael was getting at. "If you wouldn't mind taking him in, that would be great. We'll help with the training," Michael continued. "Why? I've always wanted a dog. I've always wanted a pizza dog, though," said Emily thoughtfully. "And I've always said a dog has to be big. Otherwise, it's not a dog," laughed Noah. "What do you want, Wendy? Show me the pictures." Michael turned to the girl. Wendy showed a picture of the puppy. Emily smirked and began to persuade her husband to agree. They have a big yard. Would he have a place to run around? The husband did not resist for a long time and gave his consent. The puppy found a loving family. Wendy and Michael began to visit more often to play with Jack. On one such trip, Michael proposed to Wendy. He tied a ring to Jack's crook and sent it to the girl. The whole family was present at this beautiful moment. Camille was crying with happiness in her arms with Emily's tears flowing. Noah shook his grandson's hand, telling him that he had made a great choice. The wedding was arranged to take place in 3 months. Noah took the initiative to pay for the celebration. He wanted to do something nice for the young people. Michael had graduated. The construction site that began Michael's transformation was complete. He was officially accepted into the crew. He went to the new site. It was time for the wedding reception. Many guests attended the celebration. Michael did not forget about his friend Benjamin, who was a witness for the groom. Wendy invited as a witness her friend, with whom they opened a clinic together. Benjamin immediately paid attention to the witness. Michael made it clear that the girl is very dignified and free. So at the wedding, a new romance was born. Liam was also invited to the celebration. After all, if it were not for him, none of this would have happened. Michael was grateful to him for saving his life and for getting to know his grandfather. During the banquet, Noah asked for the floor. He rose slowly. He had a small gift bag in his hands. "My dear ones, I am truly happy for you." Noah began his speech. "I can't help but thank Liam, who helped me find my family. But today is not about him." The man spoke at great length and beautifully. Michael and Wendy's eyes filled with tears from such warm words. But even more shocking was the gift from Grandpa. "Since you don't want to live with Emily and me," Noah said, "we suggest you live somewhere else, somewhere just as beautiful. In this small bag lies a big gift." He took the keys to the apartment out of the bag. "Please accept the keys to your new home. It's a beautiful apartment, huge with equal windows. The house has only recently been completed. We'll help you with the renovations, and you won't be too far from Camille." It turned out that Noah had bought an apartment in the same building that Michael was working on. It was very symbolic. With this construction site began a new life. Michael, after the imprisonment next to it, he met his wife. And now they began their life journey as a married couple. The newlyweds accepted the gift. 6 months later, they finished the repair and moved into a new apartment, already expecting an addition to the family. A year later, Benjamin married his friend Wendy. They bought an apartment in the same building where Michael lived. About his grandparents and mom, the guy never forgot. They celebrated all family holidays together and helped each other.